Hi, my name is Scully Sinful, and for the past week I've been playing nothing but V Rising: Secrets of Gloomrot. If you are unfamiliar with V Rising, it is a very fun vampire survival game where you do your best to build up your strength after being locked away in a crypt for 100 years. You build castles, build weapons, and just become a super awesome vampire lord. It's a really fun game, especially if you play on a PvP server, because you're competing with all these other players who are trying their best to also rise. I want to address something real quick, and that is the server wipe on live servers. There was a little bit of a controversy that happened before this expansion was announced because they are wiping all current servers. And at first I was a little miffed by this too, but then I played the beta and I realized, yeah, there's no way they could have those servers exist with all of the radical changes they have made to the progression system, to the castle building, and just on every level, things are different. The entire map has changed. Pretty noticeable right from the start. So the map is about, it feels almost like double the size. And that's mostly in part to just them shifting certain things around. So yeah, the map feels a lot larger. And early on, you'll actually come across new enemies. And these new enemies can be pretty scary, especially if you played the original launch. They didn't exist before, and now they do, and you don't expect them. So running into them is a little bit spooky, and it was really fun to fight new mobs, especially in the early game, because I was under the impression that a lot of the changes they were making to Secrets of Gloomrot would be coming into like late or mid game, but no, they've changed quite a bit, and that's starting from like as soon as you leave the crypt at the opening of the game. There's new changes to the V-Bloods and what they drop. There's different progression changes because of that. So now copper isn't tied to any bosses. It's something you can immediately start mining and refining. So you no longer will high-level players camp the copper mines and stop people from making any progression. That was always a problem in the original launch, and I'm really happy that they at least shifted the copper weapons to, you know, be base. Speaking of weapons, we have the amazing greatsword and dual pistols. I was expecting the greatsword. I was not expecting the dual pistols. And let me tell you, both of these weapons are phenomenal. They are so fun to use. The greatsword specifically was my favorite weapon that exists in V Rising. Super strong. The skills are really fun to use, and the E skill, let me just say, super underrated. You're gonna hear people complain about it. Let me tell you right now, you can dodge everything in this game, from ultimates to boss attacks. It is such a good skill. The dual pistols are also super fun to use, especially when we talk about something like legendary augments, which we'll talk about a little later. But yeah, the pistols are super fun, really neat weapons, and I highly recommend checking them out. But yeah, those are the two new weapons. You still have the spear, axes, sword, great hammer, the what were they? The little scythes on the hands. You got the Reaper, which is the big scythe, but then you have the slashers, which are like your very quick, fast melee weapons. But yeah, no, really great additions, and I feel like it really rounds out what we currently have. And I was just super happy. All right, so we didn't just get new weapons, we got new powers, and we got some slightly tweaked powers, because the wolf form now has little jumps, which are really cool, because now you can jump over little small objects in the overworld. So if you're running away from someone, you can hop over like rocks and bushes and make a little more distance. You can also use it to hop past someone's airlock, so you can steal all of their loot super easy. really fun to do that. Not only that, but we get the ability to make a vampire horse. You can now dominate your favorite horse, and it gives them unique abilities. They also gain the spectral jumps that the wolf form has, but even better, you can summon your horse from anywhere in the world, which, if you played the base game, one of the most annoying things in this game is going to a location on your horse or having to grab a new horse. Now, you can keep your horse from the very beginning of the game, upgrade them to a vampire horse, and have them teleport all over the map. Really good change, and it's super fun. You can also craft saddles for them that increase their stats, which is amazing. We don't have just new weapons. We don't have just new powers. We also have new spells and an entirely new spell book and gem system. So this gem system is really interesting because it adds modifiers to your existing spells, giving them all new effects or improving the effects they already have. And some of these modifiers can really be game changers. One of my favorite spells base game is Blood Rage. What it does is it increases your attack speed, gives you a little health boost, and it applies to all nearby allies. It's a really good support spell and a really good solo spell. With the Blood Gem system, what you can do is socket a gem that gives you a barrier, gives you a cleanse effect, and it can even extend the duration. And there's even little other cool passive buffs that just exist for this one spell. And they're randomized, which means that no one build will be exactly the same on a server. Really cool system. It adds a little bit of randomization, and it makes it so you can have a really custom made and tailored build. No longer will you have people running the same spells, because even if everyone is running the same exact spells, the modifiers they'll have via the Blood Gem system will completely change how they play with them. It's a really, really interesting system, and I really am glad they added it to Gloomrot. All right, now let's talk about one of my favorite things that they have changed, and that is legendary weapons or magic weapons. What this does is it makes your weapons enchanted. I know that might not sound super crazy, but it lets your weapons proc debuffs, which is insane because some of the debuffs pair very, very, very well with certain weapon skills. And not only that, it gives them randomized rolls for additional effects. Your greatsword could have a life leech effect on hit, which when you pair with some of the blood spells mean that you can heal for 60-65 per empowered hit. It's actually really crazy. And that's not even counting stuff like 100% brute, which just takes your blood restoration to a whole new level. You can face tank things, and it is pretty fun. But the legendary weapon system is really, really neat. No two legendary weapons will be exactly the same. They'll have different spell debuffs, they'll have different randomized rules. So you could have a weapon, you could have two swords that drop, right? And one could be hyper specified for a melee build, and the other one could be just the best spell sword, increasing the damage of your spells, the life leech of your spells, and also causing like a chaos debuff, which is the burn effect. So it's a really, really, really neat system that just brings everything together that we talked about. So we're just talking about like progression here, but I want to talk about the new biomes because we get a lot with Gloomrot. So we have a lot of things in this game that tackle different vampire fantasies. And with Gloomrot, we're tackling the really fun Van Helsing kind of aesthetic, right? With crazy technology, mutations, mutants, Frankenstein, all sorts of really, really cool stuff. And the biome is crazy detailed. Up north, there's a zone that's just constantly doing lightning strikes, and it is a hellish experience. But oh boy, is it really fun to try to just run out there and not get struck by lightning. It is honestly such a wild time, and I'm really excited for you all to experience Gloomrot. And, you know, there's just little fun things that they've changed or just made a little more appealing. I am constantly reminded that gardening is super important. The alchemy table has all new recipes, all new elixirs that you can drink. And one elixir I think is super cool. And what this does is it will raise the blood percentage of a prisoner by 1 to 2%. However, if they fail a 35% coin toss, they will turn into a mutant. What this means though is that you can capture a 96% or a 95%, put them in a cage, feed them this weird gruel, and get them all the way to 100. Although they could turn into a super mutant in the process. And of course, sneaking bosses and just all the fun stuff from the original Re-Rising is still here. It's just elevated by all the amazing changes that they've made with this new expansion. Overall, it was a blast to play, and I can't wait to play it on live with a bunch of you. So thank you for watching the video. I do hope that you enjoyed my little preview / review of V-Rising Secrets of Gloomrot. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.